We have had a lot of questions from the same school in Texas. I'm going to read and answer one of them from Barbara Bush Elementary School from Carla Lopez. She's asking about how many different species of birds are there and how do we know? And the answer is there are around 8,600 species of birds in the world, of which 1,100 species are in Mexico. The diversity of species decreased from the Ecuador to the poles. So in Mexico, there are a little bit more species than in United States and more than in Canada. How do we know? We use field guide, scopes, and binoculars to tell them apart based on key points to distinguish each other. We have had also question about what kind of adaptations they have to conduct this long migration, because some of them can migrate up to 6,500 miles from the Bay of Panama to the Copper River Delta. And the answer is that they have a special respiratory system where they use air sacs to hyperventilate and help the lungs to get all the oxygen that they need in order to conduct this high metabolism when they are flying. Also, they have their bones are very light in weight, but at the same time provide the surface for the muscles, like the pectoral muscle that are in charge of the wing beat and fly, that are very strong. Also, their bill is a specialization that they use mostly to feed on invertebrates on the mudflats. We have another question. Let me see. If there's one from Ana Sanchez from the same Barbara Bush Elementary in Texas. And the question is, if these birds are used to the warm areas in South America, how do they survive in colder places like Alaska? And the answer is they fly to Alaska during summer and have little time window to breathe. They are also able to regulate their body temperature.
How are we doing in time?
Another question from Juana Hernandez. How do we tell apart different species of birds, and what do they do in each staggering size? The answer is we use field guides that show key points to identify each species. And what do? They mostly feed on the mudflats of each side where they stop. They need to rest also and refuel to continue their long migration going north to the breeding grounds. And they also, when there are high tides, they cannot feed on the mudflats, so they keep preening and taking care of their plumage. Another question from Ana Jaime from Texas. Tell me some interesting facts about migration. Well, I can tell you, Ana, that and all the students that are watching us, the western sandpiper, for instance, flies more than 6,500 miles from the Bay of Panama to the Copper River Delta, where they stop and feed before getting to the breeding grounds in northern and western Alaska. Also, they stage and fly in spectacular flocks of more than 10,000 birds in one single site. The largest population has been seen in one day is more than 2 million birds in one single day in the Copper River Delta.
Are you hearing the program okay?
I don't know if I have more time to read more questions. We are receiving here more questions. From Rebecca Jaime from Texas. How do the birds know that they need to go to these places? Well, migration has been always an enigma for scientists, but basically there are two components of migration. One is they are genetically programmed to conduct their migration every year, and also they learn from others of the same species, and also they learn about their features and landmarks, topographic landmarks that there are along their route, especially when they are closer to their natal or breeding grounds. Another from Alexis Arroyo. Can there be accidents along the way? I would say yes, but there are predators along the migration route that are way more important than accidents along the migration. Red foxes, peregrine falcon, merlins are always waiting for them, and especially when they are resting during high tide, they are the prey for these predators. Another question from Uciel Olvera. If they go to the cold, will they get sick? The answer is that yes, winter storm can kill the birds, even though they are able to regulate their body temperature. Another question, what type of equipment is required to keep track of the birds? And what information do scientists collect on these birds? This question is from Javier Ansure. The type of equipment that scientists use are scopes, binoculars, field notes, nets to capture the birds and put bands on them to know their habits and migration routes, age, breeding grounds, etc. And the data that we keep track of to study these birds are the day, the number of birds in each site. When the scientists put radios on them, they use also antennas and receivers to keep track of their movements, either local movement in the same site or also long distance movements along the Pacific Flyway. We have more questions, but we invite all the students to either to call the 1-800 number that is or should be in the screen, or by email. We are answering also through email, and we'll continue after this program answering questions via email. Hiko, that's our report from here. Go ahead.